Hello, and welcome back to Me Screaming into the Void. As you have read by the title, and you see by my face, I am super excited to deep dive into Send Help because I have wonderful things to say, obviously, as a massive Raimi fan. We are going to deep dive into all of it. Imagine this. You have been underpaid, overlooked, and emotionally waterboarded by corporate life for 7 years. Your boss is a Nepo baby who thinks leadership means saying, let's circle back on that, while you do all the work. Now your plane crashes and you wake up stranded on an island with him, and the only reason he is alive is you. That's the setup for Send Help, Raimi's first horror movie since Drag Me to Hell, and one of his most unusual morality tales up to date. After years of directing big studio movies like Spider-Man trilogy, Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness, and Oz the Great and the Powerful, he's back to what he does best, telling smaller, darker stories about people making interesting choices that lead to even more interesting outcomes. When I tell you the satisfaction I got of people squirming in their seats while sitting in the theater, wonderful. I went to watch it with my brother and my editor. Hi, editor. And watching them squirm was as much fun as it sounds. This movie is produced and directed by Sam Raimi. It reunites him with his longtime collaborators like cinematographer Bill Pope and composer Danny Elfman. The story is written by Damian Shannon and Mark Swift. If these names seem familiar, they are the same ones who have written Freddy vs. Jason and Friday the 13th from 2009. You know my stance on this movie. I don't think I need to go further into it because we are going to deep diving into this beautiful little gem. Rachel McAdams plays Linda, Dylan O'Brien plays Bradley, and Emma Raimi, Sam Raimi's daughter, has a role playing a co-worker named River. If you love cinematography, seeing Bill Pope's name alongside Raimi feels right. Together, they created the look of the original Spider-Man trilogy, known for its sweeping aerial shots and comic book energy. In Send Help, Pope makes the island look gritty and humid, not clean and colorful like in the Spider-Man blockbusters. He uses very wide lenses, which usually make landscapes look huge. Here he uses them for ultra massive, uncomfortable close-ups distorting the actors' faces in true Raimi form. The script has been in development since 2019, and Raimi pushed for it to have a theatrical release rather than sending it to streaming jail. He pitched the core idea as two complicated people, one island, and a power dynamic that keeps mutating. He also said that he wanted to work with Rachel McAdams again because he felt like in Doctor Strange 2 she didn't get enough screen time. Now we get into the nitty-gritty. If you don't want any spoilers, you may leave now and come back. If you want to stay floating out there in the void, welcome. The story begins in New York with Linda Little, a corporate strategy and planning manager who's great with numbers and is a massive fan of the show Survivor, and has a cockatiel named Sweetie. Her old boss has promised her a promotion, but that boss is dead now, so the company is taken over by his son, Bradley Preston, a new Nepo baby CEO who acts like he has never been told no in his life. Yeah, I know, it gets worse. Bradley doesn't honor the promise. Instead, he gives the promotion to Donovan, who just happens to be friends with him and was a bro at his college frat house. It gets worse. We get all of this info after Bradley enters the office and gets greeted by everyone, including Linda, who just started eating a tuna sandwich she made the previous day. And as no surprise to anyone here, there is a tiny little speck of tuna on her chin. When I tell you that out of all the things that happen in this movie, this part is the one that made me gag the most, I'm not exaggerating. That becomes a sensory issue for Bradley and honestly anyone else sitting in the theater because we get an ultra close-up of her chin. and just thinking that it was tuna with mayo and and then he gets that speck on his hand, and I was like, Raimi describes the hook in almost a fairy tale logic. What if she was cheated at work? What if they crashed on an island? What if they got trapped there together? It's any worker's worst nightmare, unless you have a nice boss. But who has that? It's a simple setup, and simple stories can fall apart in the most interesting ways. Once Linda finds out that Donovan got the role that was promised to her, she storms into Bradley's office and rightfully protests a promotion decision. Bradley likes that she pushes back, not because he respects her, but because he thinks he can use her. As all of this happens, we see Bradley's father, played by Bruce Campbell, appearing in a framed office portrait in the background. It's subtle, but the office feels haunted by his presence. When I saw that, I was like, oh, no, you can't tell me that Bruce Campbell is only going to appear in a portrait. But he does. Bradley invites Linda on a business trip to Thailand to help close a merger and plans to leave her and her tuna face there, as far away from him as possible. And he ends his little speech by stating that people have been complaining about a certain smell. Could it be tuna? And sends her out of his office. Linda, distraught, quietly exits the office while whispering to herself, don't cry, don't cry. And as she sits in her car, crying in the parking lot, and because this is a Raimi movie, we see in the very blurry background the Delta 88. The classic Oldsmobile Easter egg he's been sneaking into his movies for decades. Lately, there have been a lot of class warfare movies, films like The Menu or Triangle of Sadness that put the rich through tough situations. Send Help is similar, but instead of a highbrow satire, it feels like a 1980s horror comic. Here's the difference. The Menu mocks the elite with careful precision. This one goes in with a chainsaw, or if you prefer, a boomstick. On the private jet to Thailand, the humiliation intensifies. Donovan finds Linda's Survivor edition, and in true bro form, he plays it for everyone's viewing pleasure. The scene is mean and highly uncomfortable, and I hated every second of it. However, we get our first taste of the sweet, sweet, vengeful spirit of karma very early on. The weather turns, the turbulence starts out mild, then turns violent. Systems fail, and the plane drops. None of the boys, except for Bradley and Linda, have their seatbelts on.
Take your seats, you're a little bitch.
Since this is the kind of movie that we are expecting, the crash is messy and intense. The bros slam into walls, luggage flies, and the bodies are tossed around violently. A panicking Donovan attempts... The scene was brilliant. Donovan panics, attempts to strangle Linda while he's like fluttering, into the gaping plane hole that is pulling everyone out, and tries to take her seat, screaming at her to give it to him.
Why?
As if she would sacrifice her safety for his superior role at the company. Like, no. She stabs him with a fork. Reference to Drag Me to Hell, where she stabs the cake with a fork. I mean, the eye in the cake with a fork. But listen, I'm gonna find comparisons wherever I want, okay? This is a Raimi movie, and I will enjoy my Easter eggs any way I like to. So she stabs him with a fork in self-defense, which leads to Donovan getting dragged out of the plane, his tie getting caught at the gaping hole in the aircraft, and him slamming against the cabin window on the outside while she slowly just lowers the blind. We're off to a good start. The plane goes down, the wreckage sinks, everything disappears into the ocean, and the next morning, Linda wakes up alone on a remote island in the Gulf of Thailand. Immediately, survival instincts kick in. The production worked with a survival expert, and it shows. The early island scenes feel real and practical, as if Linda is following a mental checklist. She creates shelter, fire, water, No panic, just surviving and enjoying the process. She is in her element, and I loved every second of it. She finds Bradley alive, his leg is badly injured, and completely out of it. Not his leg, Bradley. He somehow still talks to Linda like she's an employee. He is stranded, injured, and dependent on her, and still acts like this is the way things should be. And is still, by the way, disgusted by her after she saved his life. Linda still helps him, at first anyway, but eventually, after him being particularly see you next Tuesday, something in her snaps, and she abandons him for 2 entire days, leaving him to the elements. The sequence is freaking amazing. You have the camera pan on his face, always from left to right, and he's like, at first, and every time the camera pans on him again, just showing how time is flowing, at some point he's like, this is ridiculous, and then he really starts freaking out. So she leaves him to the elements, and when she returns, Bradley is all apologetic, not because he's sorry, but because he's aware that he needs her for now. The island's survival quest escalates, and eventually Linda encounters a wild boar. The attack used a practical pig puppet on set, later enhanced with CGI. Raimi even gave notes that the fur looked too shiny because it made the animal seem friendly, which, as you will see, has been changed to fit the grid. I love that little tidbit. I'm sorry. The fur looks too shiny, the boar looks way too friendly, even though boars are known not to be friendly. For a moment, the camera works and feels just like in Evil Dead, with the fast, aggressive POV tracking shots through the jungle, making it seem like the island itself is chasing her. And of course, we get a satisfying, visceral moment of her skewering the pig and being sprayed in blood. Raimi views the blood on the island as a birthing process for Linda's newer and stronger self. Rachel McAdams even said that Raimi threw buckets at her during filming, and this is a real quote.
It's just a job I feel I have to do because no one does it as well as me.
Believe you me, we know. That evening, she and Bradley feast, and she jokes, look who brought the bacon home now. Hilarious. The next day, Linda is foraging along the shoreline when she sees the boat in the distance. Rescue. Possibly escape. And she does nothing. She hides. This changes things for the story. On the island, she feels finally needed, capable, in control, and respected. Back in New York, she's invisible and nobody, so she lets the boat pass. When his leg has healed, she gives him the tour of half of the island and goes on a high ledge where she almost slips and falls, and we get this little cute moment of him falling onto her, the typical we are stranded on an island together cutesy thing. She mentions that he shouldn't go over to the rocks that look like an X because that part of the island is full of poisonous plants and itchy bushes. As a viewer, you're like, that's where she saw the boat. Foreshadowing. Wink, wink. I'm not gonna get into spoilers yet. Those who have watched the movie, you know exactly why she told him not to go there. Weeks pass, Linda becomes more confident and relaxed. She starts calling Bradley sweetie, and they drink homemade toilet wine. It's not really toilet wine, but she learned how to make wine from prison videos where they would make toilet wine. And her calling him sweetie is not her being romantic. She is, in my humble opinion, treating him like a pet. In another movie, this would have looked like bonding. Here, it feels slightly off. During that drunken night, Bradley reveals that his parents were meanies, and so it's not really his fault for being one too. To which I say, and I have said before, therapy? Linda also reveals her past, an abusive marriage, and the guilt of her letting her husband drive drunk, which led to his death. To which I say, good for her. Bradley seems genuinely moved. However, Bradley, the next day, offers to cook dinner as a thank you and poisons Linda with the berries she warned him about on the ledge when she slipped and he fell on her. When I saw that yellow thing on the fish that he offered her, because he was being extra romantic. He was like, "Oh, welcome. Hello, lady. Here you go. I made something for you." And she's like, "Oh my God, that is so cute." And I'm like, there is yellow stuff on that fish. I don't trust him. And I was right not to trust him. Right as he poisons her, he tries to escape on a makeshift raft, which immediately disintegrates into the surf. Because he's a dumbass. He almost drowns, and Linda, who recovered just enough from being freaking poisoned, drags his body back onto the sand. Why? Just let him drown. But she doesn't. And since it's a Raimi movie, the rescue isn't heroic, it's hilariously disgusting. As Linda performs chest compressions, the toxin from the berries hits her system hard. Every time she pushes down on his chest to save his life, she repeatedly pukes yellow berries directly into his face. I love this scene so much. It was hilarious. And I couldn't stop looking at it, even though it grossed me out. Raimi takes a moment of life-saving intimacy and turns it into this wet projectile nightmare. He treats bodily fluids like a character in a scene, and I love that. This is like the satisfying philosophy that he has of more is more, and I will never get tired of it. It's the ultimate payoff. Bradley tries to purge Linda from his life with poison, and now he's literally being drowned in her vomit. After saving him once again, Linda paralyzes Bradley by using octopus toxins. He is conscious, he can see everything, he just can't move or feel. She calmly explains that it's the perfect anesthetic if you want someone awake during surgery. Then she implies she's about to castrate him, and blood sprays across his absolutely terrified, over-the-top, zoomed-in face. Raimi said the scene depends almost completely on the actors and the camera work. Rachel McAdams showing calm menace, and Dylan O'Brien giving us a 4-minute silent performance using only his eyes. Chef's kiss. Raimi called it one of the best silent performances he's ever seen. And then the reveal. She stabbed a rat off screen. By the time we realize the blood on the frame is from a rat and not from Bradley, the damage has already been done. Bradley has felt his total lack of power. Just when it seems like the movie has settled into a miserable routine, two people barely trusting each other and trying to survive, rescue finally shows up. Did not think that was coming, did you? Zuri arrives by boat with a hired captain. Zuri is the fiancé we see in the beginning of the movie. She never stopped searching for Bradley. The moment Linda sees her, you can sense her panic, because rescue means going back, and Linda can't go back. In the real world, she is a mid-level strategy and planning manager with a bird. On the island, she's in control and an absolute goddess. As the movie progresses, you will see in the beginning, they try to make her, and I'm saying this because they really tried hard, but it was, it's Rachel McAdams. They tried hard to make her look mousy, and as the movie progresses and she gets into this role that she was born for, she gets more and more beautiful. When Zuri's boat hits the sand, it's an alarm clock waking Linda from the best dream of her life. She lures Zuri and Captain onto the rocky cliff, the same one she slipped on earlier when showing Bradley the island, and Zuri trips on the same spot while Linda is tying her shoe. While the captain is trying to save her, Linda smashes the captain's head over with a rock, sending them both to their deaths. Kind of expected, right? She doesn't fall apart in a dramatic way, but quietly unravels because she has committed murder. Later, Bradley finds Zuri's hand sticking out of the ground with an engagement ring, and Bradley confronts Linda by wearing the engagement ring, I think, on his pinky finger and doing this one. And we get this absolutely glorious showdown. Bradley tries to kill Linda because she murdered his fiancé, who he loves very much. Linda's eye is partly gouged out via thumb. Raimi never misses a chance for eye trauma, and Bradley gets stabbed in the side. He runs deeper into the island, into the area Linda warned him about, and there he finds a luxury beach house. It's clean, furnished, and fully stocked. And Linda knew about it all along and has been secretly getting supplies from it for weeks while letting Bradley suffer. Linda appears with a shotgun. Bradley begs. He's like, he loves her and he wants to be with her and he wants to stay with her forever. Yes, I hated it. Ugh. Because you knew he was just pretending, but his pretense was so good that you almost believed it, because, I mean, that was some high-grade acting from Bradley. Then he grabs the shotgun. However, it is empty. Chaos ensues, and Linda beats him to death with a golf club. Match shot off. Linda golfing and looking happier than ever. 1 year later, Linda has been rescued. She turns the whole experience into a brand, memoir, interviews, self-help, and even a movie adaptation. At a celebrity golf event, she tells the reporters she was the only survivor as she drives away with her bird, singing Blondie's One Way or Another, a direct homage to Mean Girls. The movie leaves us with a strange, uneasy feeling. Linda didn't escape the system. She learned how to win inside of it. And that somehow, to me, feels worse, even though I do love the little callback to the birds, because the car, the woman, the bird in the cage. Critics call it a return to form because it's pure Raimi energy. It's messy, pulpy, mean, and designed for an audience reaction. Raimi said the 20th century encouraged him to push things further instead of holding back, and you can feel the escalation as the film goes on. The Raimi trademarks are everywhere. The Delta 88, eye trauma, aggressive close-ups, and bodily fluids. Raimi also builds horror through faces. Extreme reaction close-ups, something he's used from Evil Dead 2 to Spider-Man and Drag Me to Hell. He often describes designing scenes for audience reactions, and you can feel that structure throughout the film. The paralysis fake-out, Zuri's arrival, the beach house reveal, and the celebrity epilogue. Shock turns into laughter, then discomfort, then shock again. That emotional whiplash is Raimi's storytelling engine. If Send Help feels familiar, it's because the structure mirrors that of Drag Me to Hell. Both films begin with ambition colliding with morality. In Drag Me to Hell, Christine denies Mrs. Ganush a loan extension to prove she deserves a promotion. In Send Help, Linda is denied the promotion which she was promised, which becomes the story's motivator. Christine tries to undo one terrible decision, and Linda discovers what control feels like and refuses to let it go. Once the situation begins to spiral, Raimi keeps pushing the gas pedal down. Both endings feel deeply wrong, just in opposite directions. Christine loses everything, and Linda gets exactly what she wants. To me, Send Help feels like the dark inverse of Drag Me to Hell. What makes it memorable isn't just the island, the gore, and the dark comedy. It's the truth at the heart of the story. Linda isn't a villain when the movie begins. She's underappreciated, overlooked, and treated unfairly. Watching the power dynamic flip feels very satisfying, even cathartic. Watching Raimi make a room full of people laugh and squirm might be the most comforting thing horror fans like me could hope for. If Send Help proves anything, it's this. Raimi was just waiting for the right story. This was me screaming into the void. I hope you enjoyed this deep dive. The world is burning as it is, and I feel like we all need a little bit of distraction, and what better distraction than Sam Raimi? Thank you so much for floating out there with me. Sacrifice the subscribe button to follow my screams, and I will catch you floating out there. Bye!